Now that we have all the furniture ready, we can move on to modeling the room. Go to the top viewport and make a rectangle size like this. Let's say 4.5 meters long. Actually, let's make that 6 meters long and 4.5 meters wide. Move to the center, right click on these arrows here and convert to editable spline. Now select the line and use the outline tool with the value of 30 centimeters. Actually, minus 30. Like this. Now you can add extrude modifier to this line. Change the amount to 350 centimeters. This will be our walls. Okay, convert to editable poly. Let's connect these vertices. And remove these diagonal ones here. Okay. Now make the floor, turn on snapping, and draw a box like this. Okay, let's leave it here as a ceiling and Shift plus move down to make the floor. Choose copy. Okay. Now we need to cut in some windows. First, let's decide on the size. I think something like this will work fine. Just 300. Okay, select the walls. Convert to editable poly, select these edges, and connect them. Now use the chamfer tool. Increase the amount. Like this. Press OK. Go to the front view and use the slice plane tool to cut in this top edge line here. Press slice. Okay, let's delete this box. Isolate the walls by pressing Alt plus Q. And delete these polygons over here. Now select these two edges and bridge them together. Same for these two, and on the other side as well. Perfect. Okay, unhide everything. I'm not going to make the whole room, just the view I'm going to render. So we're interested in this corner over here. For example, the doors or other windows, they are not important, we're not going to be making them. Okay, make a line. And choose close. Now select this segment here and delete it. Move the line to the bottom of the room. This is going to be our skirting board. I'm gonna freeze everything else so that it's not in the way. And let's make a profile for the skirting board. Something like 15 centimeters high. And a simple classic profile. Make this rounded and chamfer the hard edges or hard corners. Okay, select the line you made earlier and add bevel profile modifier. Choose pick profile and pick this profile. Okay. Looks like the ends are open, even though capping is turned on, so just add cap holes modifier. Like this. Okay, let's make the cornice. Draw a rectangle over here. And move to the top. Okay, let's make a profile now. Scale this part larger. And let's fillet some vertices. Divide the segment to make it smoother. Now select our rectangle and add bevel profile modifier and select this profile. Press 1 to select the profile gizmo and rotate it 180 degrees. Okay. Let's move this profile to the side. And let's make a simple camera. Choose V-Ray Physical Cam and draw it like this. Change the focal length to 30 and press C to enter the camera view. Good. Now let's make some simple wall paneling as well. go to the left view and make a rectangle over here. Convert to editable spline. Let's outline it a little bit. Like this. And make a simple profile for it. Now use the bevel profile again. Rotate the gizmo. Maybe let's scale it up a little bit. Let's flip to the wrong side, so use mirror and choose no clone. Okay, move it to the wall. Perfect. Shift plus rotate to make a copy. And move to this wall over here. And move to the other side as well. Another copy to the other side. Now just make another one for the center part. Try to keep these distances equal. And adjust the size by going to edit spline level and moving these vertices over here. Okay, like this. Very simple paneling. Let's copy this one to the other side as well. Okay, now let's make some very simple windows. We're just gonna see the silhouettes, so we don't need to go too detailed. Unfreeze everything, make a rectangle over here. Okay, go to rendering, enable it, and change the profile to rectangular. Okay. Let's make this wall thicker. Select walls and move these vertices out a little bit. Adjust the floor as well. First convert to editable poly, then move these vertices. Okay. Let's make another rectangle over here. And change the size. Okay, convert to editable poly, delete these lower polygons, and flatten these vertices. Now let's make a plane, just to get even parts all over the window. So let's split it into 4 parts. And make some lines with the line tool. Change the size of the profile. And let's attach them together. I'm using the wrong snap, so this line is offset. We need to change the 2.5 dimension snapping. Okay, we can delete this line now. I mean plane. And make another line over here. Let's do it like this. Select this spline, choose this left line, Shift plus move to make a copy. Copy to the right. And divide these parts into 2 as well. Now select these lines and detach them. Change the size of their profile. Let's say 3 centimeters. Let's move this up. And make another one by using Create Line tool. Let's move everything to the correct place. Okay, actually, let's just move these up as well. Okay. Select all the parts of the window and group them together. Unhide all. And it looks like this. Okay. Now select the cornice and add Edit Spline modifier just below the bevel profile. Select this segment and move it away from the wall 10 centimeters. Okay, 15. We're gonna hang our curtains in the seam between the wall and the cornice. I think that might be better. Like this. Okay, Okay. Let's make some simple curtains. Go to the left view and create a large rectangle like this. Actually, let's make a plane. Isolate the selection and let's increase the number of segments. 100 and 200. Actually, 150 and 300. Okay. Unhide all. Now, select the curtain, the cornice, the skirting board, the walls, and isolate the selection. You're going to use these objects to simulate cloth. Move the curtain to the correct position. Go to the left view and make a box over here. Make sure it's in the same place as the curtain. And let's set up our cloth simulation. Select this box, turn on auto key, move to the frame 50, and scale it much smaller like this. Let's make it about half of the room. Okay. Turn off auto key, select the curtain, and add cloth modifier. Go to object properties, change the curtain type to cloth. Let's use polyester and add the other objects. Set them to collision object type. OK. Enable self collisions and check intersections as well. Before we start our simulation, we need to attach the cloth to this box over here. Press 1. And select the groups of vertices like this. Just pick them randomly. Now press the Make Group button, OK, and choose the surface. And click on the box. Okay, let's run the simulation now. I'm going to pause the recording now. Once the simulation reaches the frame 50, you can cancel it and continue by simulating local. Pause again. I think the curtains are ready and we can stop the simulation now. Let's flip the normals. And isolate the selection. There are some weird overlapping parts over here. Okay. Let's add edit poly modifier. Select this edge loop. Enable soft selection. And let's scale this part like this. Move it closer. Let's do the same for this part over here. Select this edge over here where we have overlapping part. Enable edge distance. Increase the value. And let's move this back a little bit. These ones as well. And these as well. Now select one of the top edges, press loop. Disable edge distance and reduce the fall of value. And let's scale it like this. Okay. There are some overlaps over here. Let's enable edge distance again. This part is too much to the right. Now let's convert this to editable poly. Add the cloth modifier. And select these upper vertices over here. Choose make group, OK, and set the group to drag. Now unhide all. Select the skirting board and the wall. Isolate the selection. And add them to the cloth simulation. Choose collision object. OK. Now press simulate local again. Forgot to set the curtain to cloth. Let's fix that. And try the simulation now. Okay, this looks pretty good. Let's stop it. Now convert to editable poly and add FFD modifier like this. Let's unhide everything and see the results. Okay, let's make a copy of these curtains. Use the mirror tool. And move them over here. Let's flip them around. Actually, let's mirror them on the y-axis. Okay. Like this. Okay, let's assign some simple materials. Let's create V-Ray material, name it floor. Drag and drop on the floor. Create another V-Ray material, name it ceiling. Change the diffuse color to white. Okay, drag and drop on the cornice and on the ceiling. Let's create another V-Ray material and name it walls. Oops. Let's change the color to something beige. Something like this. And drag and drop on the walls. Let's assign it to the profiles as well. Looks a bit too dark. Let's make it lighter. Like this. And one more material for the skirting board. Change it to white. Hide the curtain, select window frame, and assign the same material. Okay, unhide everything. And last material for the curtains. V-Ray material, light diffuse color, and fall off in the refraction slot. Swap the colors around and adjust the fall off curve. Wrong way, like this. Okay, set the index of refraction to 1.01 and check the effect shadows checkbox. That's okay for now. Drag and drop on the curtains. Okay, a very basic scene. I think we are ready to add some furniture to it. There is a little weird part on these curtains I want to fix. Over here. Convert to editable poly again. Add cloth modifier and select all the vertices like this. Leave this part out of your selection and make group. Okay, set the group to drag type and press the simulate local button. Again, forgot to set the curtain to cloth. Well, that's done. Simulate local. You can see it straightening out. Okay, let's look at it closer. It's still a bit messed up. Let's try another thing. And edit poly modifier. Select these vertices. Enable soft selection and add relax modifier. Increase the value, add one more, and another one. Okay, convert to editable poly again. Let's try relaxing it a bit more with cloth. Set the curtain to cloth. Okay. Freeze these vertices into place. And simulate local. Let's convert it to editable poly one last time and unhide everything. Okay, let's set up a daylight lighting system. First of all, make sure your gamma settings are like this. Enable gamma LUT correction on, gamma set to 2.2, these two checkboxes checked, and input gamma changed to 2.2. Okay. Now assign the V-Ray as your renderer. I've already done that. And let's make V-Ray sun. Choose yes to automatically add V-Ray sky environment map. And move the sun up. Let's make a quick render. Looks, well, doesn't look like anything. It's mostly black. Now let's fix that. First, go to frame buffer and enable built-in frame buffer. Now change the image sampler to adaptive DMC, disable anti-aliasing filter, and change the color mapping to exponential. Check sub-pixel mapping and clamp output at, let's say, 20. Go to indirect illumination and turn it on. Set the secondary engine as light cache and primary engine as irradiance map. Change the irradiance map preset to very low, enable show calculation phase, and disable multipass. Now go to light cache settings and change the subduce to 400. Okay, change the adaptive amount to 1 and noise threshold to 0.05. Let's reduce the bucket size as well. Change it to 16. Okay, and let's press render. And it's black. So let's turn up the exposure. Change the shutter speed to 20. Sorry, forgot to enable show calculation phase on light cache. This way you can see a quick preview before your rendering is done. You can see the scene is pretty dark and patchy. To fix that, we are going to set up some skylight portals in the window. Go to the left view and make a large V-Ray light like this. Change it to skylight portal and check simple. Go to the top view and move it into place over here. Now group both curtains together, name the group curtains, and select the large V-Ray light. Click on the exclude button and make it exclude the curtains from both the illumination and shadow casting. Okay, press C and render again. Okay, it looks much better. Let's change the settings a little bit. Change the noise threshold to 0.02 and reduce the DMC sampler max subduce to 2. Okay, let's render again. The result is much less noisy now. The wall color is too intense. Let's turn that down a little bit. And select the camera and change the color balance to natural. Let's reduce the GI saturation a little bit as well. Go to Indirect Illumination tab and change the post-processing saturation to 0.6. Okay. Now open up the material editor and click on the curtain material. Click on this button over here and change it to V-Ray two-sided material. Make sure you keep old material as submaterial and press OK. Now this material will have some translucency to it. Render. Looks very dark. Make the diffuse color lighter. And reduce the translucency value. Okay. Select the curtains and add FFD 444 modifier. This top part is crossing the corners a little bit, so let's move these control points to the left. Like this. And that's okay. Go to the material editor and select the ceiling material. Give it some light reflections. Reduce the glossiness and enable Fresnel. Copy the color from diffuse slot and click on this box over here. Choose V-Ray dirt and paste the color into an occluded color slot. Change the occluded color to something like this and increase the radius a little bit. Let's see what has changed. Okay, let's try it a little bit darker. A bit too much. Okay, like this. I think this is fine. Select the walls material and copy the color from the diffuse slot. Set up a mix map and paste the color into one of the slots. Copy it to the other slot and make it a little bit darker. Now let's use this bitmap. Enable it in viewport, and you can see the walls don't have any mapping coordinates. So select the walls, collapse editable poly, and add UVW map modifier. Change it to box and adjust the size. Okay. Copy the mix bitmap and paste it into the bump slot. Change the value to -5. Now go to the reflect slot and set up another mix. Set up one of the colors like this, and the other one is dark gray. And set up another mix in the mix amount slot. Choose the stain bitmap as the first bitmap, and let's use this one as the other one. Set mix amount to 50. Let's change the output values of this bitmap. Increase the RGB level and decrease the RGB offset to increase contrast. Actually, let's move this map from color slot to the mix amount slot. Okay, reduce the reflection glossiness. And enable Fresnel. Let's increase the value to 4. Let's see how this looks. Looks okay. Maybe let's add some V-Ray dirt to the diffuse color. Make sure you keep the old map as submap. And decrease the radius to 5. Let's change the color. Something not too aggressive. And move this mix map to the unoccluded slot. Now assign this bitmap as the dirt radius. Okay. Let's select all the profiles. And fix their UVW mapping. Set it to box and change the size. Unhide all. I think we're gonna try assigning this material to the skirting board as well. You can copy the UVW mapping from the profiles. Just drag and drop the modifier to the skirting board, like this. Let's re-render this part. Looks okay. Let's make a simple parquet material now. Make a new V-Ray material. Let's use this bitmap as our diffuse map. Enable show in viewport and select the floor. assign it. It looks like this. Let's fix the UV mapping, add UV map modifier, press 1, and rotate the mapping like this. Now scale it smaller. Unhide all. Actually, let's position it like it was before. Rotate back. I think this makes more sense. It's facing the same direction as the bed. Okay, now use this bitmap as the reflect map. And reduce the glossiness. Check Fresnel and increase the IOR a little bit. Copy the reflect map to the bump slot. Make it an instance. Okay, let's reduce the value a little bit. Actually, let's mix it with the noise map. Keep old map as submap and assign the noise map to the other slot. Let's increase the size to 150 and make the mix amount 50. Okay, let's try a higher bump value. Let's render the floor to see how it looks. The texture looks a bit blurry. Sometimes it makes sense to disable bitmap filtering for textures to get a sharper result. Change the filtering to none for all the bitmaps of this material. Okay, render again. I want to cheat with the lighting a little bit to make the curtains a bit brighter. To do that, select this light we have in our window and mirror it to the other side of the curtains. Make sure it's copy. Well, first select the correct axis and make sure it's a copy. Disable skylight portal, make it invisible, and remove the ticks from effect specular and effects reflections. Now go to the exclude tab and change it so it includes only curtains into illumination and shadow casting. Press OK. Let's see how it looks. It's a bit too bright. Reduce the intensity of the V-Ray light. Let's make the curtain material a bit more transparent. And a bit more translucent as well. Re-render. Okay. Let's move on and add some furniture to the scene. Let's start with the bed. Press Merge and select the bed model. Press OK, open, and merge everything. Auto rename, and isolate the selection. Let's group everything together. And move into place. We're gonna position it over here. Let's move the bed a little bit away from the wall. Open the group. And move it away a little bit. Unhide all. Looks good. Maybe a bit closer. This is fine. Okay, let's set up our camera angle. First, let's change the dimensions. Make our view higher. Now select the V-Ray camera and increase the focal length a little bit. Okay. Now press the guess vertical button. This will straighten out our verticals. Select this baldachin over here. You can see it's touching the wall in some places. Let's move it away a little bit. Add another FFD modifier and move these control points away from the wall. Let's make a quick render. Maybe make it smaller. Okay. Let's move this light a little bit closer to the curtain. And now merge the bench. Scale it down to correct size. Something like this. And position in place. A little bit smaller. Okay. Now let's merge the chandelier. Group it together. And scale it smaller. So let's make it larger. Okay, 70 centimeters in diameter. Let's move it over here. Check the height. Make sure it's at least 180 centimeters from the floor. like this. Select the chandelier and let's change the materials. Pick the material from the metal part and change it to white. Maybe a little beige tint. Give it some reflections. Some gray reflections, enable Fresnel. Make them a little bit blurrier. Like this. And increase the Fresnel a bit. This is fine. Now let's make a crystal material. It has a dark diffuse color, something like 1. Reduce the saturation as well. Increase the reflections. Make them Fresnel. Increase the Fresnel IOR. And increase the refraction value like this. Change the refraction IOR to 1.95. Okay, check effect shadows. And this is a basic crystal material. Now let's make the light bulbs from glass. It's very similar to the crystal. And leave the IOR at 1.6. Actually, let's lower it a little bit to 1.56. Unhide all. Let's see how it looks. Looks pretty decent. Let's add the nightstands. Merge the bedside table max. And position over here. Rotate the most interesting part to the front. Maybe scale it down a little bit and move over here. Perfect. Let's make a simple white material for the night tables. We will change it later. Okay. Copy to the other side. Just use Shift plus Move tool and rotate. Looks good. We need some sort of hooks for the baldachin. Let's make it really simple. Make a line. Give it a radial profile. Now use the line tool to draw a shape like this. And add light modifier. Move the center. check weld core. Convert to editable poly. Select all these vertices, scale them down and weld together. Okay. Select one of these edges. I'll select more than one. Select all of them like this. Press ring and extrude them in. Okay, and chamfer, just a tiny bit. Add turbo smooth. Something's missing. Let's make some little changes. Select these edges. And press ring. Use connect and extrude them out. Increase the width value and press OK. Now select all the vertices and weld them together with 0 threshold. Okay, looks better. Let's scale it down a little bit. And make a sphere in the center. Let's make a very light gold material. Make a new V-Ray material, change the diffuse to something like this, and change the reflect color to a very desaturated yellow. Increase the glossiness a little bit, and assign to this part here. Group together and hide all, rotate 90 degrees. Go to the top view. Well, it's hard to see from the top view. Better make it a front view and position over here. Just copy it to the other side. Let's merge the last part, which is the table lamp. Position in place and scale to the correct size. A bit larger. Maybe even larger. Okay. Isolate the selection. and assign the gold material to these parts over here. And make a V-ray two-sided material for the lampshade. Drag and drop. Set up V-ray material as the front material. And let's leave it like that for now. Close the group. Unhide all. And copy to the other side. Make it an instance. Let's rotate it 90 degrees. Let's place some V-ray lights in the table lamps. Make sure it's set to sphere and make it like this. Change the color to something yellow. Uncheck invisible and check effect specular and effect reflections. Move into place. And don't hide all. Copy to the other lamp as well. Make an instance. Okay. Let's increase the multiplier. Let's try 100. And press render. Let's make the chandelier a little bit larger. Now let's try getting rid of this light over here. Re-render. The exposure is a bit too bright. Let's adjust our V-ray camera. Increase the shutter speed to, let's say, 1/40th. And let's make the table lamps a bit brighter. Change it to 400. Show last frame buffer and re-render this region. Maybe let's increase it even more. 700. Looks very good. Let's leave it like this. Let's adjust the proportions of our rendering a little bit. Straighten out the verticals like this. Well, let's add a simple carpet. Create a box. Set height to, let's say, 2 centimeters. And position like this. I'm gonna have to move the bed up a little bit. Okay, isolate the carpet. convert to editable poly. It's more like this. Select the bottom polygon and delete it. Now select the top polygon and convert the selection to edges. Chamfer them like this. Unhide all. Let's make a simple material for the carpet as well. Make a new V-Ray material. Assign it to the box. Let's set up a displacement map for the carpet. Choose this bitmap and show in viewport. Okay. Use it in bump slot and in displace slot as well. And use the displace value to, let's say, 1. Okay, now set up a fall of map in diffuse slot. Use a mix map in the first slot. Oops. Use this bitmap as the mix amount. And change the colors to something like this. Let's see how it looks. Cancel and just re-render the small part with the rug. To make it a little bit darker. Copy this to the other slot as well and reduce the value to 50. Re-render. It looks pretty decent. The renderings are a bit too noisy, so yeah, looks like I have 2 lights over here. Let's delete one of them and they should be back to normal. Okay, let's move on to the materials. First up, let's fix the gold material. It looks pretty decent, but we can make it more interesting. Copy the color from the reflect slot and set up a mix map in the reflect slot. Paste the color in both slots and change one to more saturated and darker. Now use this bitmap as the mix amount. Okay, let's copy it to the reflection glossiness slot as well. This is too extreme. We can make it less strong by increasing the RGB level. Actually, by decreasing it. Play with the values a little bit. And reduce this value of the reflection glossiness map to mix it with the color you have in the slot. Like this. Now copy the gold material to another slot and change it to re-ray blend material. Keep old material as set material, copy to the coat material slot, and change the reflect color to a more silver, less saturated. Okay, let's use a bitmap to mix them together. Let's use this one. Increase the RGB level, decrease the RGB offset, give it some contrast. This is gonna be our bed metal material. Copy this map to the bump slot as well for both materials. Let's reduce the value to 5. Actually, yeah, let's use a different map. For example, this one. Increase the value. And use another map for the other material. Okay. Select the bed frame and assign this material. Let's rename it to bed frame. Okay. Let's add some UVW mapping. Change it to box. Decrease the size to 80, 80, 80. And let's see how it looks. We render just this part. It's a pretty nice blend of gold and silver. Maybe let's make one of the diffuse colors darker. Okay. Let's add some mapping to the table lamp. Open up the group. Select these metal parts and add UVW map. Change it to box, set to 60, 60, 60. That should be okay. Now select the lampshade and add UVW mapping. Change it to cylinder. Make sure the axis is set correctly. This time it's X. And press the fit button. Okay. Unhide all. And let's tweak our lampshade material now. Set up a mix map as the diffuse color. And let's use these colors. Select this bitmap as the mix amount. Let's increase the tiling like this. Perfect. Copy this bitmap to the bump slot as well. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, some little adjustments. Scale the UV map vertically like this. Unhide and change the darker color in this mix map even more dark. Re-render. And that's good. Now let's assign the curtain material to the baldachin as well. Just drag and drop. And to these curly parts of the bed cover and pillows. Render. Disable the region. Just draw it like this and see how it looks. Looks pretty good. Let's make a material for the pillows now. Create new V-Ray material, rename the pillow, and set up fall of map in the diffuse slot. Change the colors. Like this. Maybe play with the fall of curve a little bit. Okay. Now give it some light reflections. Reduce the glossiness a lot. and use this bitmap as the bump map. Okay, where is it? Here it is. Open. Enable show in viewport and drag and drop material on the pillow. Let's isolate it and check it out. Okay, with the pillow selected, go to Unwrap UVW modifier and open up the editor. Let's change them a little bit. Select one of the elements and scale it larger. Position in center. Select the other element and do the same. Like this. Okay, now increase the bump amount to, let's say, 100, and copy this map to the displacement slot as well. Change the value to 1 or 2. Unhide all. Assign to the other pillow as well. Let's mess with the UVs a little bit. Okay, first of all, make sure it's not instanced. Press the Make Unique button and open up the UV editor. Okay, select this element and rotate. Okay, unhide all. Let's re-render. The effect is not too strong. Maybe let's increase the displacement value to, let's say, 6. Okay, let's increase the contrast of our map. Let's do that by messing with the output values again. Increase the RGB level and decrease the RGB offset. Re-render. I think it's gonna be okay. It's hard to tell from a small test render. Maybe let's try it larger. It's just hard to notice in the small image. Okay. We set the size to the small one. And let's move on. Select the blanket isolate it, and let's create a material for it. Create a new V-Ray material, rename to blanket. And change the color to something like this. Assign. It's a bit blocky, let's increase the turbo smooth iterations to 2. Looks better. Now let's set up a fall off map into diffuse slot. Copy the color from the diffuse slot to here. Leave the white as it is. And adjust the curves. Like this. Okay. Now go to the bump slot and use this bitmap. Show in viewport. Maybe increase the tiling a bit. Okay, unhide all. And let's see how it looks. Looks nice. Now let's add some silky pattern to this material. Change the material type to V-Ray blend and keep old material as submaterial. Now let's make a coat material. Change the diffuse color to dark beige. And increase the reflection. Reduce the glossiness. You can unlink this and reduce the highlights a bit more. It looks nice. And copy the bump map from the other material. Paste instance and reduce the values, let's say 5, 10. Looks nice. I'm gonna use this bitmap as the blend amount. Show in viewport, looks too large. Increase the tiling, let's say like this, 6 times 6. Let's swap these materials around. Now copy the blend amount bitmap and change the bump map for one of the materials to mix. Keep old map as submap and paste the blend bitmap in the other slot. Increase the mix amount. and increase the bump value. Okay, let's see how it looks. I can tell already it's a bit too contrasty, so I'll cancel the render. Go to the shiny material and increase the diffuse color. And enable Fresnel reflections. Increase the IOR. Like this. Let's try again. This looks better. Maybe let's swap the materials back like they were before. The velvet parts are usually bumped up, not in, so we need to invert the bump by using a negative value. Like this. Re-render. Okay, let's leave it like that for now. Let's set up the materials for fabrics. For the baldachin over here, I think we're going to go with pink velvet. So let's create a new V-Ray material and assign a fall of map to diffuse slot. Change this black color to something pink like this. Maybe a bit warmer. And make the white color very light pink. Okay. Now let's add some bump. Assign a mix map to the bump slot. The first map of mix. Let's see how it looks on our baldachin. Need to increase the tiling a little bit. Well, a lot actually. Try 5 times 5. And this is pretty okay, I think. And assign a cellular map to the other slot of mix map. Change the colors like this. And decrease the size of cells. Something like 0.05. Change the mix amount to 50. Let's use them both equally. Okay, let's increase the bump value to 60. Actually, let's change the mix amount a little bit to 30. This looks pretty good. Let's see how it looks when rendered. Let's render this little region over here. I think it's pretty nice. Maybe the pink color is too intense. Let's make it lighter, more pastel colored. Okay. Desaturate it a little bit and leave it like that. Now I want the same material on this bench over here. So drag and drop on the fabric part. And as you can see, the UV map is really messed up. So let's fix that. Open the group. Change the turbo smooth iterations to 1 and add unwrap UVW modifier. Okay, open up the editor, select all the vertices and weld them. This will get rid of the seams. And now we're going to create some new seams. Select one of these edges and press loop. When that's done, go over here and press Edge Selection to Seams button. Same on the other side. Loop and make seams. Okay, now let's use the point-to-point seam tool to create a seam over here. Actually, no. Let's create it a little bit lower. Just click on the vertices and it will create a seam automatically between them. Like this. Okay. Now let's unwrap this little piece. Go to the face level, select one of these faces and press the expand face selection to seams button, like this. Now let's use the pelt mapping to unwrap it. Just click start pelt and it automatically unwraps it. You can relax it. Well, okay, commit. Now let's scale it a little bit smaller. You can preview how the texture looks in the viewport and mess with the scale. Okay, let's leave it like that. Select one of these faces over here, expand face selection to seams and do the same thing. Actually, you can just use quick planar map over here. Open up the editor. and adjust the scale. We should do the same for the back. Since it's not going to be seen, I'm going to skip it. Now move to the next piece over here. Change turbo smooth to 1. Yes, let's add another turbo smooth to this one. Okay, looks great. Okay, back to this piece. Add unwrap UVW map. Open up the editor. Weld everything together. And let's create some seams. Select this loop. Create seams. Select the loop on the other side. Create seams. And point to point seam over here. Okay. Select one of these faces and expand the selection to seams. Use the pelt again. Start the pelt. Relax, stop, relax, pelt. Looks good. Commit. Let's rotate it like this. And let's scale it smaller. Need some more relaxing over here. Okay. That looks good. Let's move on to the next element. Select the face over here, expand selection, and make a quick planar map. Open up the editor and adjust the scale. Again, since we're not gonna see the back, I'm going to skip it. If you're planning to use this model in other scenes, you should probably do the other side as well. Okay, add another turbo smooth. And here it is. Unhide all. Okay. And let's try and render it. bump is not strong enough, so let's increase the bump value. Let's try 120. Re-render. Okay. Sometimes you might want to make a larger render to see the detail. Like right now you can't really see anything in this small patch. So once we render larger, you can see that the mix map has too much cellular and too little creases. So let's change the mix amount to 10 and see how it's changed. Okay, that's better. Maybe let's make the creases a bit larger. So isolate the bench, open up the group, and add another unwrap UVW modifier. Open up the editor and just scale all the pieces smaller. Close the group, unhide all, and let's re-render. Now the bump is too strong. So let's make it smaller. Change the value back to, let's say, 30. Okay, let's disable displacement for now just to get some quicker renderings. I think this is good. Yeah. Okay. Now let's copy this material and change the diffuse color. Let's name this one Velvet Pink and the second one Velvet Blue. Now go to the fall off map and change the colors to light blue. Not too saturated, very light pastel tones. Something like this. Okay, and now let's assign this to this lower tablecloth over here. The bump is a bit too small, so let's adjust the tiling, reduce it to 2, and drag and drop to the other tablecloths as well. Looks like they are a little bit in the ground right now. Let's move them up. Like this. Quick test rendering. Looks pretty good. Maybe a bit too saturated. Let's decrease the saturation. Perfect. Now I want this upper cloth to be lace. So we're gonna use opacity map. Create a new V-Ray material and name it lace. I'll change the diffuse color to something white with some very light reflections. Blur them heavily. Enable Fresnel. And go to the opacity slot and assign this bitmap. Okay. As you can see, the white parts stay as they are and the black parts become transparent, giving us a very nice lace effect. Let's see it in viewport. Drag and drop. Pretty nice. Okay. Now disable the filtering on this texture just to get a sharper result, and copy this map to the bump slot as well. Make it an instance actually. You can reduce the bump amount just so the effect is slight. Okay, render. And here's a nice transparent lace. Great. Now let's assign the material to the other bedstand. And let's move on. Okay, looks like this piece over here doesn't have any material right now, so let's assign it the bed frame material and give it some UVW mapping. Just a simple box will do just fine. Change the size to 60, 60, 60 and leave it like that. Now for the lampshades, I decided to make them blue as well. So go to the mix map in the diffuse slot and change the colors to blue. Okay, let's render and see how that looks. Looks gray actually, so we need to fix that by making the colors a little bit more intense. And changing the translucency value of the V-Ray two-sided material. Right now too much light is shining through. This is pretty good. I think we can leave it like that. Okay. Well, let's move on. Now the curtain. Go to the curtain material and let's give it some texture in the refraction slot. Go to the fall off map and assign this bitmap to both of the slots. See it in viewport. We need to increase the tiling a lot, like 30 times 30. So let's leave this one at 10. Unhide all. Let's isolate the curtain. Okay, let's leave it at 30 times 30. Copy the same bitmap to the other slot and change these values to something like 50-50. Okay. And let's copy this bitmap to the reflect slot as well. Enable Fresnel and turn down the glossiness. And let's see how it looks. As you can see, the fabric is more realistic right now. It has these imperfections. I think it's going to be fine. Let's move on. Now select the bench, isolate it, and let's add the bed frame material to the legs as well. Open up the group. Since these legs don't have a proper UVW mapping, we're gonna use a simple box mapping. 60, 60, 60, and it's done. Okay, what's next? Let's go back to the chandelier. Check the material for the candles. Give it some light reflections. Enable Fresnel and make them a bit blurrier. Maybe a bit more. Looks pretty good. Now the painted metal material. Let's make the reflections a bit stronger on this. Okay. Unhide all. I want to drop some rose petals on the bed and on the floor over here. To do that, let's isolate these objects first. And now let's make some very simple rose petals. Make a little plane. Change the segments to 2 times 2. And convert to editable poly. Let's scale these like this and round it out a little bit. Now select the center vertex. It's hard to see, let's move it up and move the central vertex a little bit down just to give it a curve. Let's twist it a little bit. Perfect. Turbo smooth. Let's get rid of these corners. To do that, we need to connect these vertices. Connect, and as you can see, the corners are now rounded. Now let's assign a very simple material to the petal. Make a V-Ray material, name it rose petals, and assign a gradient map to the diffuse slot. Change the colors to red. From dark to lighter. Make this a little bit pinkish. Drag and drop, preview. Looks good. And some very light reflections on it. Fresnel on. Looks nice. Now click on the V-Ray material and change it to V-Ray two-sided. Keep it as submaterial. Nice. Scale it smaller. First select invert by pressing Ctrl I and freeze selection. Now let's make some random positions for these petals. Make a few instances, scale smaller, rotate, move, scale larger. Try to make it random. And some over here. Now we want to drop these petals onto the bed. We're going to do it very simply by using the Align tool. Let's make a few more, just a bit more scattering. Okay. Now select the ones that are on top of the bed and use the align tool. Click on the bed cover. Change the align position to Z and pick minimum for the current object and maximum for the target object. This makes the lowest point of the petal touch the highest point of the bed cover. Press OK. As you can see, this is the highest point of the bed cover, so that's what the align tool is using. And let's move them down manually. Can move some of them around if they are intersecting or looks weird. But it's gonna be not too noticeable. Maybe let's flatten them a little bit by scaling down. Like this. Go to the top view, select the ones that are on top of the carpet, the rug, and do the same thing. Just use the align tool. OK. Scale them a bit flatter and adjust the position like this. A bit too much actually, so let's move it back up. OK. And same for this with the floor. Perfect. Unhide all. And let's see how that looks. You can see the color is much too dark, so we need to fix the diffuse color. Increase the brightness. And try again. Okay, this works for me. Let's see how they look on the bed. I think they are a bit too clamped together. Let's make a few copies to the side. Hide the ceiling. And scatter them around a little bit. Okay, let's see how it all looks together. Turn the displacement back on. And let's reduce the size. So it looks pretty nice. Maybe some little changes, like a little bit less petals. Let's delete a few of them. Let's adjust the pink velvet material. It's a bit too clean. Let's make it a bit darker. Give it more color. And adjust the fall of curve. Little changes for the blue material as well. What else? Maybe the gold is a bit too yellow. Let's reduce the saturation of the reflection map. Looks pretty good. And the bed cover looks a bit too blurred. So maybe let's adjust the blend map, change the filtering to none. See if it changed anything. Let's re-render this little piece over here. Okay. So it looks pretty nice. I think we can set up our high quality rendering right now. Increase the size. Let's make it 2000 pixels high. Move on to the V-Ray tab. Turn on the anti-aliasing filter, change it to Michel Netrowali. Let's reduce the blur to 0.25. Next, adaptive DMC sampler, change the max subdivs to 16. Now let's move on to indirect illumination. Change the radiance map settings to medium, increase the subdivs and the samples a little bit as well. Go to light cache, increase subdivs. Change the sample size to 3 centimeters and turn on pre-filter, set it to 80. Next, change the adaptive amount to 0.7 and noise threshold to 0.008. Change the min samples to 64. Okay. Let's leave the displacement as it is and increase the bucket size to 64. Now just press render and wait until it's done. And here's the final render. There are some little issues over here. It's because the displacement moved the carpet up a little bit, and we're gonna fix that in Photoshop. So now just save the image in your preferred file format and continue on to the post-production video. Divide the segment to make it smoother.